Welcome to this edition of Fuel for Thought, the podcast where we explore the forces transforming the global automotive industry. I'm your host, Guido Vildozo. And today, we're diving into a topic at the heart of the industry's current uncertainty, the shifting landscape of powertrain system strategies as global markets diverge on the road to electrification. A decade ago, the path towards full electrification seemed clear. Battery electric vehicles, or BEVs as we commonly know them, were seen as the inevitable future. Fast forward to today, and that once shared vision has fractured. Different regions are now tackling distinctly different routes, shaped by policy shifts, consumer sentiment, and economic realities. In today's episode, we'll unpack how these divergent strategies are influencing production planning, why transitional technologies like plug-in hybrid electric vehicles and range-extended electric vehicles are gaining renewed relevance, and how scenario-based forecasting can help automakers stay agile in this fragmented market. Joining me today is Saboor Imran at S&P Global Mobility, who studies powertrain trends. Saboor, welcome to the program. It's great to have you here.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Guido. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Fuel for Thought podcast. I'm Saboor Imran and I work with the Powertrain Mobility team at S&P Global based in Munich, Germany. My expertise lies in powertrain and compliance analysis for the EMEA regions, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, where I focus on engine, transmission, driveline, and electric propulsion forecasts. I have a background in electrification technologies, fuel saving, roadmaps, and regulatory frameworks with a Master of Science in Power Engineering, specializing in automotive from the Technical University of Munich. Over the past 8 years, I have got lucky to gain valuable experience in market research and project management across South Asia, the UAE, and Europe. Today, I'm more than thrilled to discuss the dynamic landscape of powertrain systems as we explore how electrification goals are meeting market realities. Let's dive into this important conversation.
Thank you for your background, Saboor. Looking forward to this conversation. Let's jump right into it. A few years ago, full electrification seemed like a shared industry goal globally. What has changed? Why are we seeing such a divergence in regional strategies now?
What a great question to start with. So a few years back, the automotive industry was unified in its ambition for full electrification, largely driven by global climate commitments and advancements in technology. However, the landscape has shifted significantly. Today, we are witnessing a divergence in regional strategies due to a combination of factors. For instance, in North America, political volatility and regulatory rollbacks have introduced uncertainty, leading to a slowdown in BEV adoption. Meanwhile, in Europe, although there are stringent emission regulations, consumer hesitance toward electric vehicles has created a complex environment. Each region is influenced by its unique market dynamics, regulatory frameworks, and consumer behaviors, which means there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach anymore. To summarize, this fragmentation reflects a more complex reality where different strategies are emerging based on local conditions.
You note that the US is seeing a slowdown in BEV adoption rates. What are the main drivers behind this trend?
So the US market has seen a dramatic slowdown in growth over the past few years. BEV sales through the first 6 months of 2025 were not materially different than BEV sales through the first half of 2023. It is proving very difficult to move beyond the early adopters as pricing and public charging infrastructures are the two main headwinds to adoption. With the loss of the Inflation Reduction Act incentives on October 1st under the new US leadership, the headwinds became even more significant. This will have immediate impacts on BEV pricing, particularly on leasing payments. This incentive has phased out nearly 7 years earlier, and OEMs have been shuffling to revise their short-term and long-term portfolios.
Let's talk about 30D and 45W. With the expiration of IRA incentives and relaxed emissions enforcement, how are OEMs recalibrating their powertrain plans?
Right. We have seen a significant amount of ICE vehicle extensions and BEV program delays or cancellations. Many OEMs were planning, say, 40-50% or higher BEV rate in 2030, and these plans have been rewritten. Such a dramatic change has resulted in an entirely new portfolio outlooks. There have been over 70 BEV program cancellations through 2030. over the past few months. In addition to ICE program extensions, we have also seen a significant number of programs that were previously planning to go BEV only, but now are getting another generation of the ICE-based programs. The volume for ICE-based powertrains, specifically full hybrid electric vehicles, normally known as FF, allows for greater amortization capabilities of the program with relaxed regulatory frameworks in 2030 and beyond.
Thank you for the insights on the cancellations and delays that we're seeing in the BEV world. Let's talk about the other two, ZEVs or zero emission vehicles, range extenders and plug-in hybrids. These seem to be regaining some importance in the US. What role do you see these technologies playing over the next few years?
Right. We are more curious and cautiously optimistic on the REV technology. This is a technology that lends itself quite well to the heart of the US market, full-size pickup trucks and SUVs. This allows buyers to get the electric drive capability, but is not going to be solely reliant on BEV charging infrastructure. There's also been significant investment in BEV capacity on full-size pickup trucks, and this technology could likely slot into those plants relatively easier. On the other hand, plug-in hybrids are likely to remain niche, with a handful of OEMs continuing to develop plug-in applications. PHEVs are still expensive. They also just lost the IRA incentive, and the dual powertrain solution needs to work seamlessly. Consumers will still need to adjust lifestyle and plug in the vehicle at home. Without doing so, the plug-in won't realize its full fuel economy savings and could eventually be even worse off due to the heavier mass of the vehicle, as has been observed in Europe with the real-world data collected compared to the WLTP in the regulatory framework.
Thank you for those insights, Saboor. Let's talk about the other side of the world and shift from ZEVs to NEVs. China, meanwhile, remains a stronghold for BEV growth. But let's talk about these two other technologies. You also mentioned emerging balance between plug-in hybrids and range extenders. What's driving that dynamic, and how are domestic players like BYD shaping it?
The diverse growth drivers of China's new energy vehicle market and the role of local companies such as BYD, as you mentioned, can be analyzed from three dimensions. I would say technology, market, and policy. Core drivers of strong growth in BEV are based on the range of mainstream models has improved in recent years with the rapid development of the market, effectively addressing consumers' range anxiety. At the same time, this year, manufacturers are focused on enhancing the range experience for consumers using BEV, vigorously developing 800-volt pure electric platform architectures and actively developing fast charging technologies. As of July 2025, the number of charging points nationwide reached more than 16 million, with over 60,000 supercharging stations from brands such as Tesla, BYD, and startups, making energy efficiency comparable to that of fuel vehicles. Emerging balance with plugins and range extenders act as a buffer zone, lowering the psychological threshold for users transitioning from ICE to BEV, leading some owners to later switch to BEV models. Therefore, from the manufacturer's perspective, in the Chinese market, you will find that an increasing number of automakers are separating plugins and range extenders from traditional fuel vehicle systems, establishing independent NEV brands with distinct attributes from traditional fuel vehicles. Moreover, in the context of slowing growth in BEV over the past 2 years, automakers have begun to develop range extender models on BEV platforms as a transitional attempt towards a complete shift to BEV. Thus, within the NEV category, these manufacturers are striving to develop technologies in BEVs, plugins, and range extenders, are showcasing their diversity in the powertrain portfolio. Now, to the last part of your question, how are domestic players like BYD shaping it? Starting in April 2022, BYD took the lead in stopping the sale of fuel vehicles and focused solely on NEV. Additionally, in the BEV market, it began to promote the application of low-cost LFP batteries, which has positively contributed to reducing the cost and prices of BEVs. In the market, local companies are developing exclusive dedicated hybrid technologies and continuously iterating and evolving these technologies to constantly improve consumer experience. With the development of this NEV market, local vehicle manufacturers and component suppliers in China have collaborated to achieve rapid cost reductions in areas such as batteries, motors, electronic controls, e-axle integration, promoting the commercialization and application of these technologies. Therefore, companies like BYD have accelerated the penetration of NAV through cost reduction in technology and scenario-based product designing.
Let's circle back to Europe. Automakers face some of the strongest zero-emission regulations globally, but consumer BEV adoption remains uneven. What's behind the disconnect?
The disconnect in Europe can largely be attributed to the tension between stringent regulatory frameworks and consumer hesitance. While regulations are pushing for higher BEV adoption, factors such as pricing, charging infrastructure challenges, and varying consumer preferences lead to uneven adoption rates across different markets. The robust CO2 regulations are not always matched by market readiness, creating a complex environment where automakers must navigate compliance while also addressing consumer concerns. This scenario highlights the importance of understanding regional dynamics and consumer sentiment in driving the transitions to electrification in a proper way.
We're hearing more about diversified portfolios rather than single technology bets. Do you think the industry is moving towards permanent diversification, or is this just a transitional phase?
This shift toward diversified portfolios seems to reflect a fundamental change in the industry's approach to powertrain strategies rather than just a transitional phase. As market dynamics evolve and consumer preferences shift, relying solely on one technology possesses significant risk. A diversified approach allows OEMs to remain agile and respond to changing conditions, making it likely that this trend will persist. This flexibility is crucial in an ever-changing landscape, where the ability to adapt can be a significant comprehensive advantage in a nutshell.
Can you elaborate on what flexible powertrain planning actually looks like in practice? For example, how are OEMs and suppliers structuring their production systems on technology investments so that they can pivot, say, between BEVs, hybrids, or range extenders, depending on what regulations or market conditions look like?
Right. Flexible powertrain planning involves creating adaptable production systems and investing strategies that can shift between various technologies based on real-time market feedback and regulatory changes. In practice, OEMs are investing in modular platforms that allow for different powertrain types to be produced on the same assembly line. This means that they can quickly adjust their production lines to meet varying consumer demands or regulatory requirements. Additionally, collaboration with suppliers is crucial to ensure that components can be easily integrated across different vehicle types, enabling a seamless transition between BEVs, hybrids, and range extenders as market conditions dictate.
Your report stresses the importance of scenario planning. Can you explain how scenario-based powertrain forecasting differs from traditional forecasting and why it matters now more than ever?
The powertrain scenario forecast serves as an essential tool for stakeholders in the automotive industry by providing comprehensive analysis of potential future scenarios regarding vehicle powertrains, enabling informed decision making. Our powertrain forecast is designed to offer a balanced baseline forecast, striking the middle ground within the spectrum of possibilities, whether the outlook leans toward a future dominated by electric vehicles or internal combustion engines. The scenario forecast tool incorporates a wide array of factors and options, including economic shifts and evolving customer preferences. This scenario-based approach empowers customers to select volume projections that resonate with their strategic vision, adding crucial flexibility to their planning. By providing the ability to choose between volume options, such as a pro-BEV scenario for Europe or a pro-ICE scenario for the US, our service supports tailored analysis and long-term volume alignment, enabling stakeholders to confidently navigate the complexities of rapidly changing automotive landscape. Now, these scenarios are shaped by a variety of factors, including trade policy, traffic, tariff environment, regulatory and policy framework, consumer confidence, and market sentiments. Also to mention here, all scenario forecast assumptions are refreshed quarterly, ensuring the analysis stays relevant in a rapidly evolving market.
How can automakers and suppliers use tools like the light vehicle powertrain scenario forecast to make more informed investment decisions amid regulatory and consumer uncertainty?
Tools like the light vehicle powertrain scenario forecast provide comprehensive data-driven insights that help automakers and suppliers navigate uncertainties. By leveraging scenario analysis, stakeholders can assess potential market trajectories, evaluate the impact of regulatory changes, and identify consumer trends. This information allows for more strategic investment decisions, ensuring that resources are allocated effectively to meet future demands while remaining responsive to evolving conditions. For instance, in the Q3 2025 release of the scenario forecast, the optimistic total industry volume scenario assumes successful negotiations to reduce US tariffs on goods and vehicles, fostering greater global trade and collaboration. In contrast, pessimistic scenario envisions a global recession with GDP growth dropping below 2% and significantly weakening automotive demand. Ultimately, this tool enables stakeholders to align their strategies with the most probable future scenarios according to their individual perspectives.
Finally, what should industry leaders be watching for in 2026 and beyond? Are there any early indicators that could signal the next major shift in the powertrain mix?
Industry leaders, in my opinion, should closely monitor regulatory developments, shifts in consumer sentiment, and advancements in battery and electric propulsion technologies. Key indicators to watch include changes in government policies that could influence incentives, emerging consumer preferences for specific powertrain types, and the performance of domestic players in key markets like China and Europe. These factors will provide insights into potential shifts in the powertrain mix, signaling where the industry may be headed in the coming years. Keeping an eye on these trends will be essential for anticipating the next major changes in the automotive landscape.
Thank you so much for these valuable insights. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in.
Thank you, Guido, for your thoughtful questions and summary. And a big thanks to our audience for being with us today. As we have discussed, the evolution of powertrain systems is not just a technical challenge, but also a broader strategic imperative for manufacturers. The interplay of electrification, infrastructure, and regulatory frameworks will indeed shape the automotive landscape in the coming years. We encourage everyone to stay informed and engage as these developments unfold. Thank you once again for listening to Food for Thought.
Today, we explored how regional divergence, policy volatility, and consumer behavior are reshaping the future of powertrain systems, and why flexibility and scenario-based planning have become absolutely critical for OEMs navigating this uncertainty. As we look ahead, the key question remains: how can manufacturers balance the push for electrification with the realities of infrastructure, economics, and regulation? We appreciate you joining us for this episode of Fuel for Thought. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn at S&P Global Mobility and explore our latest insights and data tools, including the light vehicle powertrain scenario forecast at spglobal.com/automotive-insights. We'll be back next month with another episode. Have a great day.